are we ready now for the main event of the Royal Rumble? And I must say, again, I like the Royal Rumble match. I didn't like the Valley in the middle, which was the Girls Royal Rumble, the pitch black extravaganza. They ought to call it black. And the, Alexis Bliss that we didn't watch, or I didn't watch, but they're bookending the thing. They're going to end strong. We're going to see what happens with Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. And Owens obviously out there going it alone. Roman's got Paul Heyman and Sami Zayn at ringside with him. So what's going to happen? And again, we're in hindsight here. We've seen some of the feedback from this. The match was last night, obviously, as we're recording this. People loved the ending that we will describe, and people loved the idea that this is progressing and etc. The only criticism I have on the match itself is, again, did it have to be that long to get to everything? They keep Brock short and sweet, but everybody else has to prove they can go 30 minutes bell to bell. And I'm not sure it was called for here, because everybody knew that Kevin Owens was not going to win this match and win the belt. They wanted to see what was going to happen with Sami and the continuation of that issue. So I'm not even knocking Steen here. He works his ass off. He does good shit for a tubby fellow. I don't know how he does the frog splash off the apron to the floor and not break his kneecaps.
The way he takes the spear looked pretty. That looked like it hurt. And he did it over and over.
He's always been able to work and to move, belying the pudgy physique, but anyway, when they get going into things, finally, Kevin had made a comeback, but Roman stopped him again, went for the Superman punch, and Owens ducked it and Germaned him. But then Roman hit the Superman punch, 2 count. Roman goes for the spear, hits the post instead. Owens hits a swanton, 2 count. They're doing everything they can to give people the impression that he might win the thing. And the one bobble if you hadn't seen him do this before, you wouldn't have any idea what the fuck he was doing. But Reigns, they had fought on the top rope, and Owens knocks Reigns down to the mat, and he's laying there, and Owens gets on the second rope looking at him, and he's going to jump up and turn around and not pick a bale of cotton, but he's going to jump up, turn around, and moonsault off the top rope and miss it because Roman is going to roll in toward the buckle. Well, when Owens jumps up and turns around, he should have been going for a bale of cotton. It would have been a softer landing because he missed landing on the top rope with 1 foot and fell straight backwards and landed ass first on Roman Reigns. I was like, oh my God, this could have been the big one. But he got right up, Owens did, pissed off at himself and hit a fucking senton and then did a moonsault and missed that, and Reigns hit a spear and got a 2 count.
Good recovery.
Got all kinds of notes here. Good recovery. He handled it somewhat professionally. And then they bump the referee. Roman shoves Owens off into the referee. And, of course, then Owens hits a power bomb and covers, but there's no ref. So you can't just kill the babyface. He's got to have some, visual affirmation to the fans that he could have won it. It's an out. It's a bitch. It's a gripe. But then finally Roman ball shots Owens and tells Sami at ringside to get a chair. And Sami's like, wait, you told me not to do anything. What should I do? No, get the goddamn chair. So he hesitated, but he got the chair. He gives it to Roman. But by that point, Owens is up and stunners Roman again, or stunners him. And this time the referee's up and gets a 2 count. But then Roman comes back and hits a spear and gets a 2 count. And Owens rolls to the floor, and Sami's pleading with him, stay down, stay down. So the theory is Sami doesn't want to see Roman hurt him. He'd just rather see Owens stay down. And then Reigns spears Owens through the barricade, and that was one of the better spears through the barricade. I wish they hadn't done it 75 times, because this one was great. And he tosses Owens back in the ring, but Owens rolls out to the floor on the other side, so he can't be pinned. And that's where, again, Reigns goes out and gets Owens and does the deal where he flings him back of his head first against the steel ring stairs and twice, which looked great. Except, again, I don't know how Owens does that. And there can't be a lot of margin for error. But one would think that one really good-looking one, because it looks so good, because how could you still be conscious? But nevertheless, and then rolled him in the ring again. And then Paul Heyman starts acknowledging Roman and groveling to him, and, oh, you're my tribal chief, and, oh, I love you. And Sammy's got that reluctant face, and he puts the one up, and people now are paying more attention to Sammy's reactions or whatever than they are really to what's going on with the match. And at that point, finally, Owens weakly and wearily swings, tries a punch, and Reigns hits the spear. 1, 2, 3. It wasn't an exciting finish. It was an angle finish. And it's what they needed to tell the story. They didn't need an exciting finish because nobody thought Owens was going to win anyway. So instead, they do an angle finish where Owens looked competitive all the way through and did better than anybody might have hoped and prayed that he might. But in the end, Reigns spears him through the barricade, bashes his fucking melon against the steel a couple of times, and spears him and pins him. It was an angle finish. It didn't need to come out of nowhere because it was what it was. What'd you think of the match thus far before we go on to the afterbirth?
Good match. Fans are into it. I thought Owens, like you said, good recovery on the blown spot earlier. I thought Owens was really good in there. Even as the match is happening, the drama's kind of building around ringside. I enjoyed it.
And that's Owens again. I've always said he can work and he can move, and he works his ass off. He doesn't dog it. He doesn't phone it in. He just, God, he was all, maybe it's the French Canadianism. I don't know. Just always such a pain in the ass. But nevertheless, now all the bloodline are in the ring, and they've got the leis and the celebratory flower necklaces. And they pass them out to everybody, and one of the Usos goes to give Sammy his, and Roman says, oh, hold on. Get him first. And the Usos start kicking the shit out of Owens. Multiple super kicks, beating him up, blah, blah, blah. Sammy's more uncomfortable. Solo then goes over and gives Owens the big ass in the corner with a chair around his head, horse collaring him. And then Heyman brings out handcuffs, 2 pairs of handcuffs. And, me and Paul together, we kind of fit because he's got brand new pairs of handcuffs and I've got brand new keys. I didn't know that Paul always carried handcuffs with him. I know that I always carry a handcuff key. Nevertheless, you never really need, well, I guess sometimes you need handcuffs on the spur of the moment. But anyway, here's the thing. Again, yes, this is building up what we've all wanted to see, which is the bloodline's going to kill Owens unless Sammy intervenes, and what's he going to do? The decision is what we're waiting on. But God, it was so long, and nobody's trying to help. You can make the statement that, well, Sami Zayn has no friends in the locker room. Owens was his friend. He turned on him. He's with the bloodline, so nobody cared. But referees, security, an idle fucking rent-a-cop from the concession stand. This went on so long that at some point, and I'm sure they told him to do this, the announcers laid out and weren't so it was like everybody associated with this company had completely disappeared from the face of the earth except what was going on in the ring. And I'm sorry, but that's all I can think about, because the job one, what I got into business, what's the phrase that I'm searching for? The absolute one thing that you do above the first commandment is make it look like it's really happening. And no, they couldn't just do this for minutes on end to somebody on television in front of God and everybody, in front of witnesses, without somebody making a token effort to try to do something and being turned away. That's part of the fucking picture you're painting and the atmosphere you're supposed to be creating. But this is sports entertainment. And yes, I know we all wanted to see this, and it was very well done from the talent perspective. But goddamn, it's still phony sports entertainment when it goes on forever like this, and the announcers aren't even bothered to say, oh God, they've just left too. So they're killing this guy. And I'm just thinking it would be better if it was a wrestling angle, which would be some bell ringing and some people trying to get in, and the bloodline are bad enough to kick him out. And then Roman turns around and talks to Owens for a while and goes to use the chair on him. And finally, Sammy gets in front and says, stop. And that gets the pop. But now they don't have a microphone. They're using the floor microphone on the camera that can pick this up. But Sammy's saying, you don't need to do this. He's done. So then Roman hands Sammy the chair and says, well, then you do it. And again, I'm seeing this in the Superdome or in the Greensboro Coliseum. All these things happening, but in much more condensed form and with pantomime, telling all the thousands of people in the building what's happening in about 10 seconds rather than all the conversation, and it's taken for fucking ever. And Reigns berates Sammy and wants him to use the chair on Owens. You do it. And finally, Roman starts pie-facing him and yelling at him. Now we're getting to the meat of the matter. And Sammy has the chair, and as Roman turns around to look at fucking Owens, Sammy hits Roman with the chair, but across the back. Can you imagine the pop if Roman had turned around and spit on Owens and turned back around and Sammy had crowned him over the head with that fucking chair?
Well, I saw other people point this out, and I thought about it. It was a throwback to when he turned on the Shield. When Rollins turned on the Shield, excuse me.
I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it got a monster pop. I can't say that anything would have gotten a bigger pop. It got a monster pop.
It got a big pop because that's what they've been waiting to see, but this whole, if you swing a chair at the head, somebody's going to say they don't allow chair shots to the head. Well, they ought to if somebody knows what they're fucking doing, both giving it and taking it. Nobody'd be hurt. Bobby Fulton hit me over the head with a chair about 3 or 4 times. I didn't suffer any ill effects because he liked me and didn't want to kill me, and I knew he knew what he was doing, and I took it right. But goddamn, point is, whack, he hits him with a chair. And the Usos are, what the fuck? And Jimmy super kicks Sammy and beats him up, and Solo spikes him, and Roman says, kill him. And Jay's over in the corner, and he won't participate. We didn't see this one coming. This is a very nice little twist. He won't participate. Not only that, but he rolls out of the ring and leaves. Walks down the entryway with a horrible expression. He's all torn up. And so at that point, Roman wears Sammy out with the chair. Now, he hit him about 10 times. So across the back and the sides, yes. If you're going to hit somebody, don't hit him in the head 10 times. And ripped his Oos shirt off and crumbled flowers all over him. And I like what they did, and I'm not trying to knock it. And everybody's wanting to see this, and it's the perfect time now to kick it up for WrestleMania season. And what's going to happen? We talked about, would it be Sammy and Owens against the Usos? But that, maybe it's going to be Sammy and an Uso against another Uso. We don't know what the fuck now because of this swerve with the Usos. The only thing, it was the longest angle in history of wrestling. Couldn't these things happen with urgency and people in jeopardy and there's chaos going on rather than the sports entertainment angle, which is milk everything incessantly and nobody will try to stop this until whenever you're finished. That's the problem I had with it. Otherwise, everybody was a box of fluffy ducks.
I thought it was a great match, or a great spectacle, at least after the match, and it did take forever And that is the WWE way. They're never going to not milk something, especially if Vince is really pulling the strings.
Yeah, and that's why I say I know that's what they do now. I can't not mention it because it drives me out of my mind, because I was taught the exact opposite. Get the fucking heat, make it look good, make it look real, and make it look like chaos, and get the fuck out before you wear out your welcome. And they do the opposite thing. And so that I have to bring it up, but at the same time, we've probably, I guess, accepted that this is the way a lot of this is going to be these days.
And again, the people left, even though Sammy and Owens got beat, they got to see him finally turn on or hit or finally get his, Roman got his comeuppance. I don't know how you want to see it. The Jey Uso thing puts an interesting spin on it. Unless something changes, Cody has to wrestle Roman at WrestleMania. He's the unified champion. So
there's 2 nights.
There's 2 nights of Mania. There's a lot of interesting things happening here. I mean, it would make no sense to blow off, or they're not going to blow it off yet. They've taken so long with Roman, but to do too much at the Elimination Chamber, this is WrestleMania season. I mean, what do you do to propel this? Do you think you need to propel all of this to Mania, or do you shift the focus with Roman to Cody to get to Mania?
Well, you got to do both, because that's going to be the match for the title, Cody and Roman. But at the same point, Sammy is not only has this thing gotten over and he's so popular and people have been so interested, but you've got to have Sammy and Owens and Usos and Solo and whatever else involved in some fashion. So you're building both. And
now you do the Tribal Council, because now you got Jey Uso.
Well, there you go. And they might be able to do that they were going to do originally, instead of the trial of Sami Zayn, the Tribal Council, and bring the previous generations in. But, Roman is going to be, I would think, telling the wise man and the rest of his crew here, what the fuck? Now I've got to deal with Cody while I got Sammy running around trying to fucking, instigate shit, whatever. So it's going to be a multifaceted thing. I don't know where they're going, and I like that part of it, because I can't figure this one out. Usually either we figure it out or we don't care enough to try to figure it out. But in this case, I'm trying and I can't figure it out where they're going. So, like I said, I liked everything except the longest angle in wrestling. Everything they did was great. I'd have tightened that up a bit, and some more chaos and urgency and jeopardy and et cetera in these things. Because again, the announcers laid out. So remember in the 80s when Vince was adamant that you had to send the people home happy on a pay-per-view? This closed with the 2 baby faces lying unconscious and ravaged in the middle of the ring, and the announcer's not saying a goddamn word, and you didn't even see a doctor sliding in to fucking check on him. They just left him laying there. Can you imagine if they'd covered a live sporting event like a football game, and the quarterback gets tackled or sacked and is just unconscious, and they go off the air with the guy laying on the fucking field and nobody's even checking about him?